Hi guys, Mindstone here. Today we will be looking at Control Hunter. So this is the fabled archetype that Blizzard has been pushing cards for in, well, pretty much since Hearthstone's launch. And today it seems that we're closer to an actual functional list than ever. The deck's still not classical control. It's not going to outlast your opponent in most games. You're actually going to be killing your opponent in a lot of games. Like killing them pretty fast, not just running them out of value and letting things go from there. But it's actually quite close to control. I would probably call it heavy mid-range most of the time, because it's definitely on the heavier end. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the cards. The first card is Candleshot. We're playing 2 copies of this. I like Candleshot a lot because it helps you deal with 1 health minions. That's really nice, and it really just what it is, it's 3 pings, so 3 times 1 damage, and you can just kind of put that onto whatever you like because you're not going to take damage from it. There's no penalty from attacking a minion because you're going to be immune. So that's really powerful. I was at first a little bit skeptical about the card, thinking it was too slow, but I found that it's not actually too slow because you're going to be playing a reactive game during the first few turns a lot of times, and it just couples so very well with these other reactive tools you have. So, for an example, you have a hard time dealing 4 damage, and Candleshot just makes the things that you have dealing 3 damage deal 4 damage instead. So it's just adding that additional point of damage, and that's just really powerful. Yeah, and so of course against aggro it's going to help a lot because you can just kill their things, at least somewhat. So yeah, we're definitely playing 2 copies of that. Next card is Freezing Trap. I'm playing 2 copies of Freezing Trap in this list. And I think it's negotiable whether you want to play 2 copies. I'm pretty sure you want to play 1 copy because it's quite a strong card. But 2 copies can be too much, I think. So I'm playing 2 copies of Freezing Trap because Freezing Trap helps you try to win the board. So what it does is that as soon as an enemy minion attacks, it's going to be thrown back to the enemy player's hand and cost 2 more. That's a lot of times going to be meaning that they're not going to be playing it for the rest of the game. Unless they have absolutely nothing else to play, which could happen in a control matchup. But for aggro, they're not going to play the rest of the game in most cases. That means you have essentially eliminated the card. So it helps you a lot tempo-wise because it's 2 mana, kill the first enemy minion that attacks, or will eliminate. It's not even going to get the death rattle off, so that's pretty sweet. So yeah, it's just a defensive tool really, and I think Freezing Trap is probably one of the best secrets because it's so versatile. It's going to trigger off any attack, which is not a hero of course, but any minion attacking, and that makes it so that it's hard to check for other secrets and there's room for mistakes from your opponent, which is actually kind of important. Then we've got Plated Beetle. This is one of the new cards, and I think it's actually doing quite a lot for the deck. In this slot, you would traditionally be playing, I think, the Razor Maul, the Cracking Razor Maul, but I feel like the Beetle is going to overtake the spot in this deck because it helps immensely much against aggro. Not only does it have a better distribution of stats to actually beat these flood boards that can often be problematic for Hunter, it also has Death Rattle, which gives you armor. That's really important because as Hunter you don't actually have a lot of good ways to heal, and this just helps you gain a little bit more health, get a little bit out of range of aggro decks. So for that I feel like it's pretty good, and of course we should keep in mind that since this is our lowest cost beast, it'll often also be what triggers our kill commands. Yeah, so we'll get to those later. Yeah, but Plated Beetle is pretty strong. It's got a death rattle, so that will show to have a little bit of synergy later also. Yes. Then we've got Wandering Monster. We're playing 2 copies of this secret too, because it's another secret that really helps beat aggro decks. You can negotiate whether you would want to play Explosive Trap over this, but I feel like it's actually a lot better than Explosive Trap because it leaves something after they've attacked. And yes, it might not stop a very wide board in the same fashion that Explosive Trap could, and it might not do damage to the face as Explosive Trap will. But what it does is that it's a lot stronger in the early game when they only have a few minions, and you have the potential to gain, say, up to a 4, 7, or 5/5 out of this. So it is fairly strong, I'd say, and it's probably in there because we have no better secrets, but it's on the strong end still because it helps us kind of stop chargers and weapons from just killing us straight out. So yeah, I'm finding it to be pretty powerful, like a bigger noble sacrifice, a lot bigger noble sacrifice, and yeah, it feels like 2 copies is pretty good. Again, this is one of the secrets that you could negotiate whether you want to swap a copy, but I think you want to play at least one. Yeah. So then we've got Animal Companion. Animal Companion is in the deck because Animal Companion, there's some variants on the outcomes of it, but they're all really good. So Lear's probably the worst in a lot of situations, but a 2/4 for 3 mana, which gives the other minions more attack, that's not terrible. We don't really mind it, so we're going to put it in the deck most of the time. And this is no exception. And Huffer's bonkers, and Mishra's bonkers too. So it's pretty obvious that we're going to be playing it. And there's also a spell, which is pretty nice for the bonds that we've gotten here too. So yeah, 2 copies of that, that's for sure. Then we're playing two copies of Deadly Shot. I feel like Deadly Shot's really handy for all the decks that run big minions. It helps us deal with these. We don't have a lot of good ways to actually kill something on the board, because we don't really deal a lot of damage with our spells. So I feel like, therefore, Deadly Shot kind of compensates for that. You could argue whether 2 copies is too much, and you could potentially play Crushing Walls instead of one of them if you want to go even more heavy. But I think 2 copies is good right now, and I do think that'll be what you're playing, at least until the meta is more refined and we know if it's tall decks or wide decks that we're going to be seeing. But again, it's negotiable. There's a lot of good 3-cost cards, so I feel like if you want something else, like another Unleash the Hound, you can take that if you're finding that aggro's a problem. Then we've got Eaglehorn Bow, 2 copies. Well, one thing it does is that it helps you kill things on the board. That's really nice. And sometimes, if you play secrets and you have this, it's just going to turn into a lot of charges on the bow, which means you can actually do quite a lot of damage with it. Considering that we have both bows and we have 4 secrets, that's going to mean a total of 8 attacks with the bows at max. And that's actually 24 damage. So it's almost enough to actually kill a player. We're not going to go face with every single charge, and we're not going to get every single charge. You don't have to be greedy with it, but a lot of times you're going to be happy about that. I think, as a general rule, I want to try to stay at 2 durability or 1 durability. If you get like more than that, you can't really get the damage off within a reasonable time frame. So if I get more than 2 durability, I'm just going to go face if there's nothing else to hit. Just as a general rule. There are, of course, exceptions, but I would stick to that for the most part. I don't think it's negotiable playing less than 2 Eaglehorn Bows. They're very, very powerful. Sometimes I feel like Candleshot and Eaglehorn Bow, they both have pretty high durability, so sometimes you might have to override one with the other, but I still think it's good, and I think they're so powerful that they're definitely worth it, even though it becomes a little bit weapon heavy. Then we've got Double Kill Command. So we don't play that many beasts, we play some, and I think the ones we play are enough to actually justify it, but we don't play that many, so it's a little bit wonky, but still 3 damage for 3 mana is okay. It's not good, definitely not, but it's good enough to be played, as long as we get that 5 damage sometimes. It's going to help us finish games, and it's going to help us kill aggro with, well, the minions of aggro decks, so that's super powerful, not much to say about it. Then we're playing 1 copy of Unleash the Hounds. This is for aggro, so when we're playing against these decks that go very wide on the board, it's going to help us a lot just cleaning up. It's going to be damage to the face also if we're trying to end the game, but more often it's just going to be very flexible removal that we can distribute the way we want to because we have all these 1/1 chargers. I feel like Unleash is not that powerful for the deck in its current form, but I kind of want 1 copy just to help us out against aggro. I could imagine that you could play Corridor Creeper, which is an amazing card, by the way, in the deck, and then play another Unleash, but I'm a little bit in doubt about that still, and I haven't decided upon if there's room for Corridor Creeper. There might be. But at least we're going to be playing 1 Unleash because it's fairly powerful against these wide boards. Then we're playing Bonds. So the deck's not that many minion heavy. We don't really have any minions except for Bond and Houndmaster and the South, of course, that don't have death rattles, and we have Tundra Rhino too. So enough about the listing. That doesn't matter. We don't have a lot of minions, and most of the minions we have upsides onto them when they're dragged by bonds. So a Cairne's going to summon a 4/5 if it's summoned by bonds. A Highmane's going to summon two 2/2s, summon if it's pulled by bonds. And the Tundra Rhino is going to give your other beast charge. And Plated Beetle is going to give you a little bit of armor, even though that's minor. But not only that, also your soft procs are going to be bigger if you pull any Death Rattle minion. That's going to mean the Death Rattle minion is going to be summoned twice. So I feel like it's quite a powerful card, and it's nice to have a 4-drop. Yeah, but it's mostly in there because that sometimes when you pull it, it's just going to pull on these Death Rattle minions, and that's especially Cairne and Highmane, and these are going to just win you games on their own almost. Yeah, so Bonds is just pretty powerful in itself and complements the deck very well. Then we're playing double Flanking Strike. I was at first a little bit skeptical about this card because I thought, Hunter, you want to kill your opponent very fast, but Flanking Strike can't go face, so it's not good. But I now see that reasoning was wrong, because Flanking Strike is really, really powerful. Dealing 3 damage to a minion, an enemy minion, and summoning a 3/3 simultaneously is super powerful. I think the 3 damage is just below 3 mana worth. A lot of times you can get minions that are almost 3 cost, maybe even 3 cost. You can kill these, and then you get a 3/3, which is going to do somewhat the same. So you get like 4.5 mana maybe worth of value from this card, potentially even more. And it's a fast card. It has impact right away because you can remove something. So I feel like it just suits the playstyle really well. And yeah, it's just kind of an above average card that just feels good to play. Yeah, so I don't really think there's a doubt in me anymore about this card. It's super good. More, not so flashy maybe, but just solid for what it does. Yeah, it's one of our primary removal tools, because it's super reliable, gets us some tempo while we're doing so, removal. Then we're going to play double Houndmaster. Double Houndmaster is a little bit wonky in this deck because we don't have that many beasts. And I'm not gonna list them. You can look at the list yourself. But it's sometimes going to be hard to trigger it. I haven't found problems in this yet, but I could imagine that there would be times where you wouldn't be able to trigger Houndmaster that efficiently. But I feel like the upside is too good to not be playing Houndmaster. So if you hit a beast, you get a big taunt, because you get that +2/2 also to it, and you get the Houndmaster body, which is like way above 4 mana worth of value. So therefore, it's a super strong card, I think, and just with that limited amount of beasts we're running, I still think it's good enough. So I can't see myself cutting it. Yeah. It's in pretty much every Hunter deck ever, because it's so powerful. Not much to say about that. Then I'm playing Lesser Emerald Spellstone. I feel like this card from the new set is probably one of the strongest cards released for Hunter in a long time. Well, let's go over it for the way a Spellstone works. So it starts by being a 5 mana spell that summons 2 3/3s. If you play a secret, just one secret, it's going to upgrade and summon an additional 3/3, up to the potential of 2 upgrades, meaning 4 3/3 minions. So the worst case is it's not terrible, right? It's actually fair, like considering that each of these minions cost, let's say they bring in a little bit more than 2 mana's worth of value, and you summon 2 of them. That's approximately 4 and a little bit, maybe 4.5, 4.3 mana crystals. That's the worst case, bear that in mind. Then if you upgrade it just only once, you get, let's say, 6 mana worth of value. This is good. This is turn 5. That's very, very strong. And keep in mind, it's really easy to upgrade. Just one secret's not that bad. We're playing 4 secrets. And it's actually already a fair upside to get on turn 5, because it's a lot of tempo. So already now it's good. But then if you upgrade it another time, it suddenly becomes like 8 mana, probably even close to 9 mana worth of value, which is super strong. And it's on turn 5. You could reliably get this down on turn 5 with summoning 4 of the wolves. That's powerful. That's very powerful. That's going to win you games. And that's also what Secret Hunter is playing on right now. That's what Spell Hunter is playing on right now. This card is very strong. I would not be surprised to see that the final Hunter lists of this expansion is going to be running 2 copies of this card every time. Because it's probably the MVP for Hunter here. Yeah, so not much to say except for that. Super strong card. Yeah. And luckily it's a rare, so a lot of people are going to have it. That's lovely. Yeah, then we got Tundra Rhino. So, I just mentioned Emerald Spellstone. In conjuration with Tundra Rhino, this is actually Force of Nature Savageor. Which is like the old combo that you had in Druid, which dealt 14 damage from hand for 9 mana. It's not costing 9 mana, it costs 10 mana now. What it does is it enables you to play these 2 cards together, and you actually have 14 damage from hand, which is a lot. Not a lot of people are going to be expecting lethal from 14, which is one reason this is good. Another reason is that the cards are strong on their own, so I feel like you could actually just play them in their own respect, and they're fine. It's just synergy that you can actually, well, pretty much kill people from a pretty high health total with it. So that's pretty nice. Yeah, so Kodo's in there for the combo. It's in there for just being a nice minion that can summon get charge onto your minions. If you have this on the board while playing the Soth, after having killed 1 or 2 Highmanes, it's also very good. And also bear in mind that if you have this on the board and play a Highmane, the Highmane gets charge, and you can trade that Highmane, make it die, and the 2/2s that it summons are also going to get charge. So you can like do chains of trades that way. It's pretty nice to know because it helps you maybe killing big taunts at times. But yeah, it's a fairly solid card. I probably would not play another copy. I feel like it gets too heavy then and a little bit combo oriented. And I feel like combo is more of a niche because it costs 10 mana, it requires 2 cards. And as for this deck, you don't have a lot of card draw, so it's pretty unreliable getting those combo pieces. And often you're just going to be playing the combo pieces for like tempo. But there's the potential, and that's pretty nice, but not a second copy. I would consider cutting it if you're facing a lot of aggro. I feel like it's probably one of your best tools against control. Not thinking about it in the Soth. So therefore it's in there for those heavier matchups. Then we've got Cairne. So there's not a good deal of Death Rattle minions that are actually good in this deck available to Hunter. There's Highmane. Highmane's amazing, and that's about it. There's Plated Beetle too, of course, but that one's not really big, and it doesn't really serve the purpose of gaining value. It is, of course, helping to do that, but it's not really enough on its own. So I feel like Cairne, even though he's not a beast, he's big, he's fat, and he's amazing if you pull him with bonds. So again, he's in there for the control matchups. I feel like if you're facing a lot of aggro, you could probably swap him for something that would be, well, targeting aggro. I don't know what that would be, but any Death Rattle beast that costs not that much. There's plenty in Hunter, so I wouldn't be worried about finding one. But he's just fairly powerful in his own respect. Strong minion on the board, and yeah, there's not terribly much to say about him really. Yeah. Then we've got Deathstalker Rexxar. This card's pretty interesting in the deck because it actually feels like it fits into this deck. Not like these other mid-range hunters I've seen previously, or the aggro hunters that thought, if I can't rush my enemy down, then I'll just outlast him with this guy. That's not what he does. What he does is he helps you get aggro. That's one thing. When you know you cannot kill your opponent faster than he can kill you, you will have to take the role of the defender. You will have to control the game. That's what Rexxar does. He is going to first of all be a board clear for you. That's pretty good. It's an expensive one. Bear in mind, it costs quite a lot dealing 2 damage to all the enemy minions, but it can be useful, and it is going to be useful in a lot of cases. Then he gains you 5 armor. Those points of armor are crucial. I have played games against other hunters, or rogues, or the likes of that were so close to killing me with damage from hand, where the 5 points of armor that Rexxar put up were going to be saving my game. So that's actually very important, a very important part of him, and should definitely not be underestimated. Then you get the other hero power, the Builder Beast. I'm not going to say it's an upgrade, because it doesn't have to be. You have to be watchful that you're not just jamming him down and thinking, now I'm going to build a lot of zombies. That's, well, it can happen, but sometimes it's better to just use your usual hero power and actually kill your opponent with that, because it's very good at putting pressure on them. While Rexxar's hero power is very good at gaining value, it kind of fixes the problem that you don't have card draw in the deck. So once you get to that stage where you've played this guy, you can just sort of pull more cards from him. You draw 2 cards every turn in that way, sort of. And there's a lot of flexibility with the choices you have, so that's pretty nice too. An important note on him is that if you stitch together a Zombeast with a Death Rattle, N'Zoth will resummon that. So bear in mind that if you have a matchup going for heavy control, you could consider keeping N'Zoth till after you've played Deathstalker and found some Death Rattles. That also means that Death Rattles discovered by Rexxar before N'Zoth is played are more valuable. Yeah, so not much to that. Then we've got double Savannah Highmane. I think I touched on this card a little bit previously. It's super strong for value, it puts a lot of pressure on the enemy, and it's a beast. Nice upsides. Yeah, not much to say, it's a stable. Yeah. Then we've got N'Zoth, which is like the final big card. So he costs a lot more than all the other cards. Savannah Highmane 6 mana, this one's 10 mana. So a lot of times you're going to be waiting to play him, and he doesn't really feel good sitting in your hand. And of course, it's not nice sitting with him just like that. And sometimes you're even going to be sitting till turns after turn 10, just because you haven't had enough Death Rattles through during the game. But what he does is that once you play him, you get a big tempo swing. You get a lot of minions. Those don't have taunt, sadly. It would have been nice, but they don't. But what they do is they put pressure on. So if you're playing against aggro, N'Zoth is irrelevant. He doesn't matter for the matchup. Then you're playing your strong core of removal and Deathstalker Rexxar in general. But N'Zoth will help you against control to just put even more pressure on. Yeah, so there's not much to say about it. It's just your final big bomb. Yeah, but I believe that was pretty much the deck. So I think the main things you could discuss about it is probably which secrets to play, and whether you want to play the Rhino or not. And of course the 3-drops. I think there's so many good 3-drops for Hunter that you could probably argue that some other 3-drops were better than the ones I chose. But with that being said, I think we should get into a game. So, we are back with the gameplay of the Hunter, Control Hunter. And going into a game, I don't really know which matchups I would like. I feel like there's a lot of good matchups, and I don't really know what the bad matchups are. I haven't played it enough, and I don't feel like the meta settled down enough for matchups to actually matter a lot. But it seems to be Rogue we're playing against. That seems to be alright, really. I don't think it's a bad matchup in any respect. We're going to throw back Deadly Shot because it feels a little bit like it could be better later, while in the early game we're not going to see big enough minions for making it efficient, considering that there's no Edvin, which is something I'm sort of anticipating. But anyways, we should be just fine here. The hand seems to be going, well, at least we've got some pretty good cards. Freezing Trap and Lesser Emerald Spellstone should combo nicely into turn 5. I kept the Spellstone because I thought that with it I could easily well, make it upgrade by turn 5 and have it be a lot more powerful at that point. So whether that's going to be the reality, I don't know, but right now we're actually witnessing the power of Candleshot being able to take down 1/1s without too much trouble. And that will be South Sea Captain. We're going to have to kill that right away because it's super dangerous. That means we'll be kill commanding it and using Candleshot to clear that one. But we have lost 3 health off a pirate start, which is actually very good. We've got a fair hand to play from this point.
This guy's toast.
So I think we're probably going to be safe here. I'm not going to play the Spellstone because I think Flanking Shot answers this board immensely well. We're suddenly ahead on the board and we can just keep the Spellstone for later. Even though Beetle and Freezing Trap could have been a fine play here, I just think it wasn't the best play we could have made.
Ha, this guy's toast.
Now it seems like we're going to get the chance to do it one more time. And we're definitely going to be playing the Freezing Trap over the Wandering Monster, because the Wandering Monster is very good for blocking things that would go face, whereas if he trades, we don't really have a way to kill that SI agent except for kill command, and we don't want to do that. So I feel like it's better to just get that Freezing Trap down there.
How long can this go on? How long can this go on?
So Saranite Chain Gang might cause us a little bit of trouble. How much trouble is still to be seen, but it will definitely cause a little bit. We're just going to pull all the secrets out there now, because pulling out more secrets is going to mean that we get more tempo, and we would just want to build up the tempo for that Greater Emerald Spellstone to work off. So we're going to throw that one right back while summoning a 3-drop. Or maybe not. So he decides to clear the Beetle. It does seem like a pretty good position anyways. But please notice it's actually an aggro deck we're playing against, and we are still healthy by turn 7. That's quite powerful. And as the Freezing Trap has triggered, there's no chance of him bouncing KLSF back just using the Freezing Trap, which is pretty nice too. And we have a fairly good hand to just take the control from this point. But as it might also be seen from this state, we have quite big problems drawing cards. So if he's not going to be trading with that, well, that is fortunate. That does seem very fortunate, because we get a huge play setting him down to 8 health, which is going to mean he might actually just die from our hero powers over the next few turns, if he is even able to clear the board, which might be very unrealistic. And we have a good defense in the secret, so it does seem like we've gotten to a point where he simply cannot keep up with us anymore.
How long?
The Saranite Chain Gang is not going to do a lot, because we have 2 wolves that will easily kill those Saranites. I don't know if they're called Saranites, but... And the Killers does start to kick in here, but it's not really going to matter. So that deck doesn't have any healing. I think we'd rather just go and try to get Huffer over trying to play Cairne and making him stick, because we're going to win with a hero pawn next time anyway, so playing a Cairne doesn't matter at this point. It's completely irrelevant. But potentially we could have won this turn with if we had gotten Huffer instead of Leon, and Misha would have made us more safe. So, but it didn't matter, we got it. So yeah, that was a pretty clean game. We went a little bit behind in the early game where he was playing pirates, but then we just slowly recovered by playing our cards and getting the board. Turn 4 was really decisive because you got to play that flanking shot on the SI agent, which was a huge swing, taking 3 points of mana from him and getting us a wolf on that. So yeah, that was definitely powerful. I think it demonstrated quite well how the deck wants to play out, that you actually play very much like a mid-range deck, and then you just kind of outlast these aggro decks. Sometimes you're going to be even more aggressive, I think, but this is probably the way you want to be going in most cases. Yeah, but I hope you guys enjoyed it, and that you'll play the deck for yourself, maybe slight variations of it. I'd be thrilled to see some further innovation on the archetype. But with that being said, I will see you in my next video.